So I think when people have a capital gain event, whether it's a stock sale, business sale, maybe even business with some real estate, or they sell a piece of art, they've got this big capital gain and maybe they never thought about it or knew how to get into actually owning some commercial real estate that would be really nice passive income with not a lot to do. Opportunity zones actually give people the ability to do that. There's all kinds of different opportunity zone opportunities, from buying businesses to buying real estate, oil and gas, solar, variety of different options for return. But for a lot of people that we've worked with that have had this gain, what they really want to have is some long-term, consistent passive cash flow with not a lot of effort or responsibility and oversight or management, because they've either done it for years or they never want to do it. And so they're looking for highly passive, conservative, capital preservation sort of investments. And we've found a way to utilize commercial real estate and opportunity zones to give people better performance than just buying a piece of real estate on its own.
For folks who might be intimidated by that term opportunity zone, I think a lot of people here, they think they know what it means, but they really don't have any idea what it means. For a lot of people, it might, envision some messed up property in the middle of a horrible area. Why would they want to do something like that? Why would they go into an area like that?
So opportunity zones mean a lot of different things to a lot of people. What opportunity zones mean to us is census tracts where investors can get tax advantages. What our job is to look at real estate across the country and find the best opportunity zones, or to find the best locations that happen to be in opportunity zones, so our clients get high quality pieces of real estate and all the opportunity zone benefits.
So it doesn't necessarily mean a bad area with bad buildings.
I don't think it does. I think if you look across all of the investments that our clients have made, there's been a ton of research into the locations. And the locations that people have selected have either been, let's call them good locations, or the best of opportunity zones, but they have a lot of things that are really good going for them. There might be a ton of growth. There might be a ton of college students. There might be a bunch of synergistic businesses. The broad stroke opportunity zone means bad area is totally misguided. Like I said, opportunity zones to us are census tracts where people get tax advantages. When it comes to people buying a piece of real estate that has it, we go out and find the best places that give you those advantages.
I know a lot of the specialty at Centennial is, and many of the transactions that have been done with Centennial are for business owner exits. What should they be doing right now to be thinking about the tax implications of that? What are some of the things that maybe people aren't thinking about that they should be?
Well, I think that the biggest thing when people are starting to think of how awesome it would be to be retired and enjoy the fruits of all of their effort, that as soon as they start thinking about that, they start to think about all of the assets and maximizing the value of all the different assets they have. We had a client recently who's got a great business and an amazing piece of real estate. And going through the process with them, we looked at what's the value of the business if you sell the real estate? What's the value of the real estate if you just sell the real estate? What's the value of the real estate selling it by itself? And what's the value of the business selling it by itself? And looking at all of those different things, we can come up with a strategy that maximizes the proceeds from the sale of their business. Obviously, depending on what gets decided, there's different specialists that should be brought into the conversation. Usually at some point when somebody thinks about selling a business, there's concern about capital gain. And that's where opportunity zones and captive golden opportunity zone net leased investments can be a perfect fit for somebody who's looking for high quality retirement income with security.
Can you talk about how you got started in the space, why it was so exciting to you, and your track record?
So, opportunity zones come from the Tax Cut and Job Act in December of 2017. And as that legislation was being discussed, when people started talking about opportunity zones, there were tax benefits like no depreciation recapture, no tax or a stepped up basis if you held it for 10 years. Now, those two things, those just two facets, are something that real estate investors would have loved to have had for across their entire portfolio for years. So those buzzwords got our attention. Obviously, you can't do it everywhere. There's certain restrictions. And so as we learned more about the unique restrictions that were going to be a part of opportunity zone legislation, we started to dig deeper and try to figure out how could our clients, which would be typical real estate investors who were hands-on that owned individually, how could they tap into and benefit from the opportunity zone legislation? So in late 2017 and 2018, we looked at it from where are the zones? Do our clients own property in the zones? Can they do anything because they're in a zone? The answer was across the board, no, unless they made significant investment. But somebody who was going to buy it had a lot of advantages. So we started to realize that there were advantages for buyers to buy in opportunity zones. Well, then it became, okay, how do we get our clients to acquire what might be developed? And is there an opportunity there for our clients? And that's really where our opportunity zone business has blossomed, is finding the areas that are the best of the best in opportunity zones, finding development of net lease properties or double net leased properties or even apartment buildings that were under construction, and helping our clients that were looking for the opportunity zone benefits, but a relatively passive investment, finding the opportunities where they could utilize their capital gain and get the benefits of the OZ legislation. Over the last 8 years, our opportunity zone clients have been able to use the opportunity zone legislation to avoid $250 million of capital gains taxes. And almost exclusively, they have rolled those capital gains into high quality, very passive, not totally passive, but very passive commercial real estate investments that have provided them very stable cash flow in retirement. Yeah, I think one of our favorite stories is we had two business owners that had spent 25 or 30 years starting in basically like a garage and building up a business that was multinational, had facilities across multiple states. They got an offer they couldn't refuse and had sold the business for 20 million, which was a capital gain conservatively of north of 8 million. And so they set up an opportunity zone fund. They went out buying multiple properties to satisfy they went out and bought multiple properties, Caliber Collisions, 7-Eleven gas stations. They used a lot of capital gain, and then they used a little bit of additional cash to buy a building outside of an opportunity zone. And they were able to create enough depreciation in the year of their sale to have $8 million in depreciation that year.
Is there any other vehicle right now that can do things like that? Or is this a super unique opportunity, and is it going away anytime soon?
Well, I think that opportunity zone investing, there's all kinds of different return potential and therefore risk tolerance in a variety of different opportunity zone investments. I do think that opportunity zone investing in the right area gives you performance that is significantly better than if you bought the exact same thing outside of an opportunity zone. The cool part about it is it's certainly here to stay. When it got passed in late 2017, it had a 10-year horizon. And with the big, beautiful bill July 4th, it is now permanent, or at least as permanent as I guess it can be. Uh, it's And as of July 4th, with the big, beautiful bill last year, it is now permanent. So anybody
Fantastic.
who invests in an opportunity zone today or until there is change in the legislation will be able to utilize the benefits available in the opportunity zone legislation.
Let's say there's a guy who's already like in negotiations, ready to sell his business. What are the things they need to be thinking about?
So we get involved in it as late as well after the sale when somebody's got the capital gain in the bank and they've accepted and realized the money. So that's, you can do it after. It's a little bit more frantic in order to get everything done, but you can do it after. But to me, I think the best thing somebody can do is when they're starting to think about how nice it would be to be retired, then they start looking at all the options, not just opportunity zones as a way to maybe pay less capital gains tax, but looking at all the assets they have as a part of the business, all the things they're putting their time in, and look at what is the way to maximize the value of all of these while accomplishing what I want. There are some people that might sell a business and they're still at a point in their life where they're building wealth and they want risk, and that's a plan. There are others, most of the people that we work with, that are retiring and looking to preserve their capital and enjoy time and provide safe and stable returns. Tons of different ways to look at it. But once you start thinking about it at all, that's when you start talking to people like us, other professionals that have other options available to figure out what is the best thing for each individual.
Some people might have, wealth advisors, CPAs, folks who might be maybe a little more skeptical. It sounds like people don't know a lot about it. And are you on a mission to kind of, spread the word?
There's the real estate component and the tax component of maximizing the benefits. When that's the case, obviously, a lot of people have other vendors, other advisors on their team that are a part of the process. So it usually works. Somebody hears about opportunity zones, somebody digs in a little bit. We have a conversation with them. If they're interested at all, we want their tax people, we want their attorneys on the calls, because oftentimes, because of the newness, because of the nuance of opportunity zones, these people are tremendous professionals, but they don't know every detail because it's not what they're doing all day, every day. So really, from the day we started this through the most recent transaction we've done, there is always a part of the process where it's talking with the other advisors on someone's team, answering a lot of questions, helping them understand what we know about it so that they can then analyze, can their client really benefit? Do they get the maximum amount of benefits? Or are there things that the client doesn't know that maybe they know that we need to know to figure out if it's a worthwhile strategy or how to tweak the strategy to make it work in their circumstance. So I've found that different than a typical 1031 exchange or transaction that we do where somebody's just selling a piece of real estate or buying a piece of real estate, is that the advisors that are much more involved in this, and usually there is a team of us executing the strategy with the client to maximize the benefits they get.
Why do you think you were so interested in opportunity zones when they came out?
Up until opportunity zones came out in 2017, I had spent at that point probably 15 or 20 years doing commercial real estate brokerage up and down the West Coast, helping people buy and sell buildings. I was in a very narrow space of focus where I was dedicating all my time and attention. But sometime around 2014, as I started to consider Centennial and maybe what I wanted to do with the rest of my career and how I was going to get better, I started to look into being a member at Vistage. And I was working with someone whose parents had been in Vistage. And she was like, you got to check this out. My dad loves it. I think it'd be great for you. And so I think I joined maybe 2015 or 2016. In Vistage, like I do commercial real estate, but everybody else has their own business that they're doing. And in the group that I joined, we had some people that were building, and then we had a lot of people that were starting to prepare and strategize and think about how do they exit their business. And so being around all these people, being a part of those conversations, I guess business and business exits started to be more on my mind and be more of a thing that I was thinking about. And knowing that when you sell your business, you have this big capital gain, like when you sell a piece of real estate and you don't do a 1031 exchange. Well, opportunity zones were going to utilize capital gain. How could it benefit or how could it work? We first looked at it purely from the real estate perspective. There's benefits at times for somebody to do a opportunity zone transaction versus an exchange. But certainly for business owners that are looking to have some amount of redeployed capital into a very safe, strong, regular producing cash flow investment, opportunity zones were kind of perfect for that business owner. So I think that's what kind of got me interested in it is I was just around more people that were thinking of selling a business, and it was a opportunity where maybe they could get a few more benefits, keep a few more dollars that they'd worked so hard for in their pocket. And, once you're around enough real estate people, saving on taxes is something that everybody talks about and you just are interested in it. The cool part about opportunity zones is that your capital gain can come from anywhere. It can be the sale of a Picasso, somebody's Pokemon collection, a piece of real estate, or even the business that somebody's worked hard in for 30 years. When you put your capital gains into opportunity zones, you have the ability to get really stable cash flow for a very long time and get a ton of tax benefits.